Hey, welcome to the Denver Senior Resource Channel. I'm Morgan Jenkins, and I'm the director at Maintain Me.
And I'm Chelsea Sweeney. I'm the owner and nurse at Maintain Me.
And today we are going to be talking about the G word, guilt. We all have felt it. We have all seen it. But we're going to just have a discussion about what to do with it, how to identify it, how to overcome the feelings. Because oftentimes I think people hold themselves back from making hard decisions because they feel guilty, even though those hard decisions really need to be made.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot. And I think the first thing is understanding that there's different types of guilt based off of, where you are or your relationship to the situation. So for instance, Morgan, we experience with our clients a lot of guilt, and the guilt looks very different in comparison to, say, you're a daughter or a son and you're helping mom or dad versus a granddaughter helping grandma and grandpa, and then taking it one step further to your spouse. And then having to do that, and all the guilt, it all exists, right? But I think we can say pretty confidently that it is very different. We hear from spouses like, it's my job, especially in the generation that we serve. It's my job to take care of my husband or my wife, or my wife always took care of me and now it's my turn. And that this like obligation around their love and their relationship. And then as children, this whole like, they took care of me my whole life. Now it's my turn to take. There's just so many different aspects that kind of lead towards that feeling of guilt. Morgan, what do you see the most around your clients? Those are some of the top things I see. What are some things that you hear or you see from your clients?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that I see is I promised to never put
Yes.
a loved one somewhere. I think that's the number one thing that I get from both family members and spouses, even friends. Helping friends is their power of attorney. And so they will put themselves on the back burner in order to uphold this promise made years ago with no information about what the future holds. And the bottom line is, in most cases, it's completely unrealistic. It is not based in reality.
Yeah.
It is a decision based or made on the facts of the situation.
Yeah, and I think that's important to talk about. So strategically, and just because we believe that education helps all around, like our job is to, create informed consumers. But I think it's really helpful when helping families to try to remove some of that emotion that may be unrealistic. Because, we can all agree that emotions, they don't have to make sense. They don't have to be reason. They don't, they're emotions for a reason. So if we can put some clarity and some education in the mix to help maybe not take away emotion, because that just sounds bad, but maybe help level some of the emotion with also just some of those hard facts, I think is super helpful. I don't know if you do this, Morgan, but one of the things I talk about, it's kind of something I say with everyone when I start seeing this guilt thing. And it's so common, right? Like guilt is so common. It's nothing to be ashamed about. And some people don't even notice they're having it. And so bringing light to the table, just telling people, hey, I know this is really hard. I can't even imagine being in your shoes, or maybe some of our people on our team can't imagine being in their shoes. But one of the things I always tell them is, this isn't something that you planned for in your life, where there are people out there who have chosen to be this role in your mom, your dad, your husband, your wife's lives. And how much of a wonderful situation could this be? As hard as it is, how much better could it be allowing the person who wants to be there and shows up every single day to be this for your loved one, do that, and then let you be what you are to them, which is husband, wife, spouse, caregiver, whatever that relationship is. And so that's one of the things I always tell families. Do you have similar conversations, Morgan? Like what kind of things do you tell families to just kind of at least have a conversation or open up the conversation for it?
Yeah, I kind of say something similar, that yes, I've had a lot of experience in dealing with this, but it does not make any of it easier. It's okay to feel And to have those hard emotions, it's actually better to feel them and sort of bring them to the surface instead of burying them, as we often do as humans. But I also tell them, you know, on the promises front, is you're not going back on a promise because you're here fulfilling that promise. You're here doing that thing. You're here fulfilling the promise to keep them safely in their home as long as possible. And we usually try to go through everything. I always tell my clients, okay, we're going to try everything. If there's a solution that we're missing to keep your loved one at home that's safe, then let's look at it.
Right.
When we do have to, you know, we can usually see what's coming. We know how this is going to turn out, but our clients don't, and we're still on that journey with them. So we want to say, okay, let's try everything, so that when we're addressing the guilt, we'll say we tried everything.
Right. Yeah, I know this is uncomfortable, but the alternative is this, and we tried that and that didn't work. So I think the other thing too is helping families understand that they know their loved one better than anyone, and that those years and years and years together, or the connection that they share, has given them the knowledge that they need to make those decisions for that loved one, in a way that they know would best serve them, right? Like we could do a medical, financial, social assessment, whether staying at home or transitioning, and we can give them our best, professional, experienced, advice, right? Or counseling. However, without that paired knowledge of who that person is and what they would find is acceptable or even maybe enjoyable, hopefully, is the piece that we just can't provide, right? And so working with families, I always tell them, I say, you know this person, you know your dad, your mom, more than I could ever, right? I mean, you have years of experience with this person and you know what they like and what they don't like, and you can help prioritize those things, so that you are providing quality. And once quality is found, the guilt is a lot less, or it's lessened, I think. It still exists because you can't provide it. And I think there's also something to say about culture. Culture has changed and times have changed. And as much as we all wish that we can stay at home and care for our loved ones, finances may not allow that, or lifestyle may not allow that, or personality may not allow that. And so I just help them understand that, our culture is different than what we all think it should be like, where we all just stay home and take care of each other. That's just not feasible for not only yourself or your family, but also for your loved ones. So just giving some, perspective on okay, what if you could do it all? Could you do it all? Would you be happy doing it all? And what would you be sacrificing if you were doing it all for that person? And is that something that you're willing to sacrifice? And oftentimes they're like, well, no, but then what, And so we say, then we just work through it together. And there is going to be guilt, and there's support groups for other families. It's funny, Morgan had come to me, God, when was that, Morgan, when we did the transition cafe?
2 years ago.
Yeah. So we had identified, or Morgan mainly had identified, gosh, it would be really cool to give these people some kind of after the transition, after the hard work, to get together with other families going through what they were going through. And is as great of an idea it was really hard to circle everyone back around into that. But I think what really came out of it is it's super important to surround yourself with other families in similar situations. And I think they have that within kind of transition specifically. But when you go into communities, that you can meet other children that come and visit, on a regular basis, that have gone through what you've gone through. And so we have identified that. We weren't super successful. It also was kind of right before change in times. But it's a huge need, and there's support groups for almost everything else,
Yeah, support groups are a great extra. It's our culture. Again, culture. We don't really like to ask for help or admit that we might be struggling. But there are a lot of people out there who've gone through the same thing, and they are really eager to help you see that there is another side to it. There is freedom there from the guilt. And one thing I also tell my families too is that, you know, feeling as if you have some sort of standard you have to live up to, or a false narrative about how you should feel or what you should be doing, or you should be doing something better, just automatically sets us up to fail. So
Absolutely.
thinking about it in what I should be doing this, instead of this, I'm giving everything and it is enough. And when it's not enough, it's okay to say I need help. And what I also tell my families is when they're facing the idea of bringing in care, their journey's not over.
Absolutely.
It's only just beginning. That community still needs every bit, like you were alluding to. They know that person. That community caring for that person needs that spouse, that daughter, that friend still very much involved, because that's how they bridge the gap to getting to the best care level possible, is by that collaboration. So it takes a community. It takes a village, as they say, when you're raising young kids. It takes a village when you're caring for older folks. And that used to be the way things were. Everybody in the village took care of each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes now you just have to hire your village. And
Yeah.
phrase it like that. You are still a village. You're still the number one person in their life, but now you just bring in more people onto the team.
Yeah, that's funny. If you guys haven't seen our other video, we do a video on communication after transition. And so if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It will be posting on YouTube here shortly. It's one of our newer videos. And so I think that's such a good segue, because the advocacy that families can provide when somebody has taken over that care is so important. And that communication piece is part of the success in that. And so those videos go very close together, this one and the communicating after transition. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think it also will help with guilt when seeing and building the rapport within the community, these new caretakers, right? The people who have entered into their life willingly, acceptingly, excitingly. They won't vibe with everybody. That's just the way it is, but they will find those couple that, they can't wait for them to be there, or they wake up and they're people that they smile at every single day. So once you start building that village and getting to know that village, and then the families have also built a rapport, a lot of that guilt and shame and all of that will, it'll start to change into not only acceptance, but maybe even excitement and being proud of the decision, as hard as it may be. And so, yeah, definitely, I agree. Like I have two small children, and it definitely takes a village. And I also, used to care for my husband's grandma, and it's a lot. I'm a nurse, and it's still a lot to take. And 100%. Anything else, Morgan, on this topic? I think the most important thing is talking about how we're not ever saying that guilt shouldn't exist at all. Like in fact, this entire conversation has been like, it's okay to have guilt, and guilt is going to exist, and it might look different from one to the next, but it's going to be there. And there's certain things that we can do to try to help you through it, but we're never going to take it away altogether. But that there are steps, and time is one of them.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add, but you're not alone out there.
Yep. And definitely allow yourself to feel, when you start hiring somebody like transition coordinators like ourselves, or case managers, or whatever it may be, as far as who you're helping through this journey, or who's helping you through this journey. I think it's important to allow them to take on the tasks that might be harder, that, and allow you to feel what you're feeling and go through the process, and kind of give some of the other responsibilities away, so that you can feel those things, and you're not just setting them aside to feel them later. And so it's important to have somebody that can help represent you on the side of education, and hold your hand through each process, because it is a lot to handle by yourself.
For sure.
All right, well, we will end. Thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't followed or subscribed, please subscribe. We put out new videos all the time. Give us a thumbs up. We do have our phone numbers and everything listed below in the comment section. Our job is to educate all of you out there who are caregivers or in the field, or even if you're providing care for yourself. We want to be here to answer questions for you and educate you on important topics. So if there's topics that you're interested in, feel free to put them in the comments below. We want to hear from you. We try to find topics that we think are important, but if there are things we're missing, it's not as good without your input. So please feel free to call us, text us, email, whatever it may be. Thanks so much for joining. Go check out some of our new videos.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes.